living with my mom for so long and haven't dated in years, so I'm still learning. It's a process.
Oh my God. I don't know if I can let that slide.
I dated a neckbeard cell who fancied himself as Christian Grey, part number 3. So, here comes the near end of me jotting down my turbulent 6-month excruciating relationship with Christian. I mean, I'm sure it was excruciating, but also you're getting paid for it, so I've done worse things for less money. This second to last episode will be by far the most stomach-churning and fucked up one. I mentioned in my last post that the breakup will be in this one, but that's only partially true. I didn't realize how much more I needed to discuss with you. It's December 31st, 2018. I'm leaving a family event to go pick up Christian from the airport. Again, I had that nasty gut feeling, and I didn't know what was to come. I vowed myself again that if this trip went wrong in any way, then it was over, for my own sanity. I pick up Christian from the airport, and all is well until I get on the freeway. He had his seatbelt on when I started driving, but soon I hear the beeping that signals that someone took their seatbelt off. I didn't hear Christian shuffling around at first because it's 3 a.m. and I'm trying to focus on this 2-hour drive back home, but I see something out of the corner of my eye. I'm going to describe this to the best of my ability. Christian is sitting on the front seat floor of the car, shuffling through his backpack. I'm going at least 70 to 75 on the freeway. I was in shock. First of all, I'm driving on the freeway, and there's a passenger on the floor of my car without their seatbelt on. Second, I know this man was tiny, 5'7", maybe 135 to 140, but like, how the fuck could he fit down there? He's got that red-haired leprechaun powers.
Leprechaun! Leprechaun! Yeah!
I scream at him to get back into his seat, and I asked, what the hell was he thinking? This man looks up at me and goes, "Stop overreacting, it's no big deal," as calm as possible, and keeps shuffling through the bag. I do the only thing that I can do to prevent the possibility of manslaughter, and I pull over until he's finished. Now he's angry and starts berating me for being a nagging bitch all over again. I don't say much and keep on driving. We get home and I crash immediately as it's 5 a.m. Should have turned around and brought him back to the airport. I have the next few days of work off, so we go to a local museum. It's cold in the Pacific Northwest, about, 8 to 11 degrees at the time. Cold, but still okay to be outside, sort of. So of course we dress warmly. He pesters me into wearing heels. Fine, whatever. I bring a backup pair of flats in my bag. We were outside a bit after arrival, and my feet were so cold that they were ready to fall off. Keep in mind, he specifically asked for open-toed heels in 10-degree weather. Also, I have an iron deficiency. I get cold, and I get cold fast. We're also going to be walking around a museum for at least 2 hours, so I put my flats on. I wish I could show you guys the scowl of disgust that this man shot at me when I put on those low shoes. Here's our exchange.
"You're taking them off already? It's only been a few minutes."
OP, it's cold outside. We've been walking outside for a bit, and even the museum is cold.
"Well, can't you wear them for a bit longer? Don't you want to practice walking in them?"
OP says it's not the height. The shoes are open, and it's almost snowing out.
You can't hold out a little bit longer."
If you want someone to wear heels, then fucking wear them yourself. I snapped at that last part. My feet were in pain from the cold, and I'll be damned if I continue wearing them just so he can get his 3-inch soft hard on.
I don't think I like feet as much as you do.
Hey, everybody likes feet.
So what does this man do? Well, he sulks around the museum, head down, arms crossed, minimal answers, sighing dramatically and just looking like he didn't get a prom date. It was embarrassing. We go out to dinner, and it was fine. We actually had an okay conversation. Then the drive home happens. I was on birth control at the time, but I'm not an idiot, so yeah, rubbers are still a necessity. He brought up the topic of doing it. Need to remind you that I had not come to terms with the fact that I found this man visually and mentally revolting, so we hadn't done it yet, but I almost pitied him and his 3 inches, so I brought up them rubbers. He said, they were uncomfortable, even though he'd been celibate for a decade. Yeah, sure thing, bud. They all say that. I told him no glove, no love. He then starts telling me, a woman, about birth control pregnancy rates. I just kept driving. He asked me what birth control I was on, and I couldn't think of the name at the time, and I still can't. It was a birth control that didn't have a shortened name, so no one's gonna remember that long-ass title. I didn't have the pills on me, so I told him I'd just check when I got home. He asked me, what did they look like? It was an unassuming white pill, so yeah, really nothing special. Well, this hero of a man took it upon himself to search Google images of birth control pills and shove the phone in my face while I'm driving. Does it look like this one? How about this one? What about this? This man was legit scrolling through images of birth control and putting his phone in my face as I drive. Yeah, if I just find the right picture on Google Images, then you let me bust inside. I think I even saw an Aleve soft gel in there. I yell at him that I was driving and to get his fucking phone out of my face. He then goes back to sulking after telling me to relax. It's not a big deal anyway. You probably won't even get pregnant. You could always get an abortion or something. He mutters to himself as he dramatically sighs and looks out the passenger window. She thought about throwing him a pity bone for like half a second, and then he ruined it all. Opie says, at this point, I'm scared. He was willing to get us into a car accident to try and convince me to have rubberless intimacy time with him. I sit in silence and think to myself, I was sure that he wouldn't try to put hands on me. As dumb as he is, I had more weight on him, and I was lifting weights at the time. I knew I could throw a punch and knock him the fuck out if needed. As dumb as he is, he and I both knew that his expertise lied in mentally wearing a person down and playing mind games, which explained his gaslighting and narcissism. So I made a point to keep my wits about me and keep one thought ahead of him. A lot of things after that were just kind of a blur. I went back to work. He laid on his ass all day and just played around on Reddit. He was a mod for a massive community until he got banned, and he claimed that that was his work. He used terms like second in command, captain, sergeant general to describe his roles as a mod. That is good cringe right there. Oh.
Wait, are you a Redditor admin? Oh my god.
God. I thought he made me cringe before, but I could not stop my face from contorting whenever he said aloud any of those roles. He assured me that spending time on Reddit would help him exceed with his programming skills. Yeah, I mean, like you could actually look for a real programming job, but okay. I let my coworker know all about this, and she expressed her distaste for Christian Grey the day of. I don't know why I didn't listen to her. We all do dumb things, I guess. But one day at work, I don't remember specifically what led up to it, but Christian and I started fighting. I know for a fact he called me a name and insulted my appearance, and this time I ripped him a new one. He tried his old tactic of me just misunderstanding him, but I had the screenshots to shoot back at him proving exactly what he had said. He got quiet for a long time, and I mean hours. I assume he was thinking of a plan. Eventually he gets back to me and says, he was just kidding, and I don't know why you're overreacting so much. Took you that long to think of that bullshit? OP says, no, none of that. I told him he knew exactly what he said, and he did have intentions to hurt me. And I told him that we needed to have a talk when we got back home. I assume he knew what we'd be discussing, so his tone changed. He went back to the wounded animal stance, that he was just a victim, that he didn't mean it. I wasn't budging, so he pulled another weapon out of his arsenal. He was gonna end himself that night. I'm not proud of it, but I sighed and held my head in my hands. Everyone knew he was bluffing, but I guess on the very off chance that he did mean it, I slowed the conversation down and told him that we would just talk tonight. He kept going on and on about how his life was worthless and how he wanted to end it. And I just let it happen. I didn't know what to do. I hardly believed him, but at the same time, I don't know. I didn't want to egg him on. I ain't falling for that one. I mean, that's tragic or whatever, but you do you. We all make choices. I drew my line in the sand, and I am not moving. OP says I get back home, and he just tries acting like nothing even happened. But no, I made him sit down and told him how I felt. I was tired of his verbal maltreatment. I was tired of him forcing femininity on me. I was tired of him acting like he was the greatest gift a woman could have. And I was fucking tired of him lazing around all day, leaving my place a mess and not doing a thing. He'd lay in bed until around 3 p.m. and then just play on Reddit all day. I know he was staying over, but Jesus, go on a walk. Clean up your mess. Do something productive. Yeah, he's just used to having mommy around is what that is. I told him I wanted to break up. I felt no love for him, and the relationship shouldn't have happened in the first place. I agreed to it on a whim and didn't think it through, which all is true. Christian's response was to burst into tears and tell me that I was making a mistake. He knows he treated me badly, but I was so nice and kind that he hoped that I'd forgive him. I told him, look, everyone makes mistakes, but at this point, he's intentionally hurting me, and he knows it. He said it was his illness. I told him even if that is true, it's still not fair to me. Then he drops something so bizarre. He says, well, I've been living with my mom for so long and haven't dated in years, so I'm still learning. It's a process.
Oh my God! I don't know if I can let that slide.
Yeah, that's a wild one. I don't think I want to be a part of the process. Go back home to mommy. Maybe she could fix you. Because I fucking can't. OP says, what the hell are you, a baby? You learn how to treat people decently in fucking preschool. I was just so dumbfounded. He then kept pleading with me to give him another chance, and I'm not proud of what I did, but I hatched a plan. I told him that I'd give him another chance, but didn't tell him that I was going to break up with him as soon as he left. I somehow knew that he just wasn't going to let me go that easily, especially in person. So with that in mind, I mustered up the courage and just faked the relationship. It was a painful few days. My only solace was work and grocery shopping. He tried to get me to not go to work several times, actually trying to guilt me for it, but I still went. Hell yeah, I need my fucking reprieve. The straw that broke the camel's back came that weekend. I had an appointment and came back home. I don't know why he did it or how it started, but the moment I got back home, he cornered me into my closet and just started berating me. I've never been afraid of this guy before, but I was now. I don't remember what he said. I blocked it all out and ran outside. I called the person closest to me and the person that I knew Christian was afraid of, my brother. My brother that we'll call Tim lived about an hour and a half away. He was a busy guy, but if I told him I was in danger, he'd come running. I called him and I don't know why, but I didn't tell him about what happened. I just told him things weren't working out between Christian and I. He could tell something was up and gave me his input. I guess just hearing him made me feel better and gave me the courage that I needed. Now if only someone could give his mother the courage that she needs to fucking push the baby boy out of the nest, you know? But what if he goes splat on the ground? No great loss. I went back inside and told Christian he needed to leave within the next 2 days because a family emergency with Tim came up. I put emphasis that my brother would be coming over. Say no more. Christian sulked, but he straightened up and said, "Okay." As broke as I was, I offered to pitch in on helping him get another plane ticket. Not to be kind, but just to get him the fuck out of my house. Want to know something? Christian confessed to me that he bought a one-way trip. He told me that he had the intention of staying with me for at least 3 months. What the fuck?
What? Oh, hell no! Oh, hell no!
I almost choked. This man is in my home, living here rent-free, doing nothing but maltreating me and draining my already drained bank account for months. And he was just gonna ride that out for as long as he could. Human shit. What a piece of garbage. You should have Tim come over and kick his ass just on principle, you know? He learns that he can't do this. Yeesh. OP says, I kept my composure, and we got him a plane ticket for Monday evening. It seemed the mention of Tim made Christian fearful, so he behaved as much as he could for the next 2 days. Monday came along, and I sped home from work so I could take him to the airport. I will admit, I was so excited to have him off my hands that I made a couple wrong turns and delayed the trip, and I was in near tears. Thankfully, Christian couldn't pick up on why. He just thought that I was already missing him. Poor fool. I get to the airport, basically shove him out of the car, and get back on the road. The emptiness was so welcome. It was like a surreal feeling. I actually didn't turn on any music for a solid 20 minutes, just appreciating my freedom. Next one will be the actual breakup and how it took me about 3 weeks to get to it, so get ready. Yeah, we're all strapped in for that, ready to rock and roll. Sometimes the trash does take itself out. Sometimes you gotta work really hard to get it out of the house. The fact that he planned to stay for 3 months, that he admitted that to you, that's the wildest part to me. Like, we agreed on a week. What the fuck did you think was gonna happen? That I'd just be too nice to kick you out? Well, I'm not. Go! Gubbins know what that's like, right? How do you feel about this one, Gubbins?
Man not warrior, man is parasite. Cling, drain, whine, no honor, no strength. Soft chief show mercy, but Gubbins say mercy wasted on leech. Gubbins.
I didn't say show no more. I said take him out back, put the boots to a medium style. OP's the softy here. But really, yeah, she's sort of doing it for her own safety. So I get that. We have a plan. It's in motion. Everything's fine. Let's get into the last part and see how this thing wraps up, shall we? I dated a neckbeard who fancied himself as Christian Grey. Part 4, the finale. Thanks for waiting, guys. Sorry you had to spend your weekend without an update, but I was busy getting housework done and my fingers were fried from work and typing up this juicy story. I'll also respond to all the lovely comments and messages that I've been getting once this is posted. You guys are seriously awesome. We left off with me kicking Christian out, taking him to the airport, and me enjoying my silent ride home. It was late, but I was thinking to myself about how I could bring up that I no longer wanted to be a part of Christian's life. Once, he threatened me with sewer slide when I considered breaking off our relationship in person. 2, he was really a gaslighting mastermind, and even with me staying mentally ahead of him, I feared getting trapped in his sticky incel machinations once again. So I gave it a bit. I talked to him for about a week, and things got annoying. Christian knew the breakup was heavy on my mind, and I confessed to him many times that he, nor the relationship, made me happy. So whenever we had text conversations and they went well, he would always end it with comments like these.
I think we're doing better. We've been working on ourselves and our communication has improved. You seem happier, and I feel happier, don't you agree? We've had so many good days in a row. We seem to be on the upward swing in our relationship.
Yeah, what a positive beat. I ain't falling for that for a second. I never wanted to go to marriage counseling with you. I loathe you. It was cringy, annoying, and most of all, suffocating. He refused to acknowledge the elephant in the room, and my answers were dwindling and turning shorter. I just started running to places. I live in the Pacific Northwest, so there's lots of places you can go that are secluded, away from people, and those became my refuge. God knows I needed the exercise, but I was also literally running away from my problems. As nice as it was, this was not the solution. Hell, I even told Christian one day that I wanted an open relationship. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm monogamous as all hell. Nothing against poly people, but it's a hard-no lifestyle for me. The fact that I was considering doing something that was extremely uncomfortable for me was driving me mad. I was considering it just to get away from Christian, to have any kind of normal relationship with a healthy partner, and quite possibly a better-looking partner as well. Okay, but I don't understand why we don't just cut the cord, you know?
Take one step on that rope and I'll cut it.
Polyamory is weird, though. I'm sure some people think it sounds fun on paper, but in practice, it's a fucking living nightmare. I would bet anything. Anyway, OP says, I tried to break up with him, guys. Over and over, I tried to break up with this guy. But anytime I told him that we needed to video chat or have a serious conversation, he would bail, feign illness, or just get really quiet for the rest of the day. Maybe he doesn't deserve a talk. Maybe he does just deserve a text message and you block him on everything, no? What's worse is that he'd tell me how great we were doing now and how he was so happy. This went on for 3 weeks, guys, until I had had enough. I waited until I was at home on a slow day, and I just let it out to Christian via text that I was done. There you go. I kind of like this OP. A little bit materialistic, I guess, but fairly no nonsense. You know how to push for what you want, and that's a good thing to have. OP says she told him, I know that acting nice was all a facade until I felt comfortable again. I didn't love him. I lost love for him the first time he showed up at my house months ago, and I was ready to move on. I need to explain the emotional toll that Christian's behavior had on me. I'm not a social person, but I am friendly, and I have an undying amount of empathy to give. I'll drop everything I'm doing to help the ones that I care about. I just figure it takes $0 to level with someone and try and understand their experience, but by this point, I really did have 0 empathy left to give. I was a shell of a person with no positive emotions. I never had a hard time listening to someone vent, but I just couldn't listen to my friends and family's grief anymore. Yeah, you're dealing with your own shit. My soul was completely sucked, and I did not have the emotional energy. Christian was an emotional leech. And a literal one. Fucking couch surfing bum. Go back with mama. He said earlier on that I had a lot of empathy, and I believed that that was something that he craved. As venomous as this guy was, he was also very weak and needed sympathy and empathy to prey on. Constantly. I don't know what it was. It was like those emotions were his life force. He was literally a psychic vampire. He became stronger by wearing others down. Yes, literally and figuratively, you are his sustenance at this point. I like that OP didn't let it happen. Shipped him off back home to mama. You're not my problem no more. Anyway, Christian didn't act surprised. He just said, he knew it was coming, and he was just trying to stop it. I told him that that was extremely unfair, and he was essentially holding me hostage. He said, he was afraid I was just gonna ghost him. And I told him that that crossed my mind many times, but for the sake of my own closure, I at least needed to tell him over text because he made it apparent that he wouldn't let me dump him in real life. He tried playing the victim card, and I told him that that no longer works and has run its course. He was a 35-year-old fucking man. I reminded him of that. I told him that we could remain friends, but I needed some time to myself, and maybe later we could consider dating. And of course, all that was a straight-up lie, but if I didn't say something to give the little man hope, well then, he'd never fucking leave me alone. And somehow, it did work. But it was not without its consequences. First, he asked if we could just be intimate partners, and I said no. Christian then decided to pull an power move. I have a friend who I talk to just about daily, and I have for the past 7-ish years. We'll call him Brent. We bonded over anime and manga and Instagram back in 2013, and we hit it off. It's important that I mention that Brent lived in the South at the time, and also, he's gay. Christian knows that Brent and I are close, and he always seemed threatened by that aspect. Plus, Brent also finished high school, and he finished university with a degree that Christian envied, with amazing grades to boot. Brent is younger than Christian, obviously smarter, and is achieving Christian's dream. To top it off, he was besties with me. Gay or not, Christian had a laser pointed at this man. Oh, come on, dude. Don't make it fucking Brent's problem. He's just trying to get through the day. Christian, I don't know how to describe it. He accused me of telling people I was actually dating Brent so I could phase him out of my life. I asked him, how on earth did he come to that conclusion? Brent is gay. Christian acknowledged that, but still accused us of being in a relationship somehow because Facebook told him. I was confused. Did I post that by mistake? I checked, and no, I had my relationship set to single. I changed it back while Christian and I were dating. Sue me. I can't sue you. The Facebook relationship status not legally binding. I was stumped, and I asked Christian how he got that idea. He said because Brent and you were joking about it on Facebook feeds and sending memes, so that must have been it. You guys, I tapped out at this point, and I had had enough. I just basically told the man, goodbye, and said I'd check on him later. I was tired, everything was becoming a blur, and I was just glad to be done. I know this isn't the exciting ending that you're looking for, so we're not done quite yet. Oh, with the fake out! About a week or two after cooling off, Christian wanted to Skype me and say his piece. I figured, whatever, if it gets bad, I can just end the call, so I agreed. We talk, and he's generally upset, but he has this sad yet hopeful look in his eye. I can't describe it. He then proceeds to tell me basically about how he was actually the hero of my life and how I'll never find someone as good as him. Not in those exact words, and he wasn't talking down to me, but he listed all the things that he could have done for me. Helped me with my mental illness, find a better job, more friends. He even mentioned that he was thinking of contacting Tim, my brother, so they could hatch a plan to help me out. Tim knows I have depression. Tim knows me better than my mom. He's my older brother. Besides his wife, they know me better than anyone on the damn planet. They took care of me after my dad died, and we've always remained close, to the point that we make sure that we live in the same state as close to one another as possible. I kind of laughed at that because, as I said, Christian was afraid of Tim. The mention of him made him pee his pants. Christian was offended by my laugh, and I shortly ended the call. It did not go according to his plan. Yeah, I could just go offer her made-up things and she'll open the door again.
You sure about that?
No thanks. The icing on the cake is, several months later, he messaged me asking if I'd be fine with having an exclusively intimate relationship with him again. No strings attached. I remained silent. Just, what the fuck? He proceeded to tell me in a long-winded wall of text as to why that would be okay, and I could still move on from him, and of course, all that was a very hard no. The conversations dwindled after that, but something critical happened in his life, a good thing, and I congratulated him on it. It was also around that time that my grandma was very, very ill. She was suffering from kidney failure at 92. I hadn't seen her in a long time, so I was taking time off work to go visit her in Florida. It's taken me a while to come to terms with this, but the day that I was leaving to go see her, my mom called me at work and said that she had passed. My mom, being the saint of a woman that she is, held her own mother as she died, telling her that everything was going to be okay. I broke down at work, but managed to drive home later that day. and I knew that if I just went home, I'd do nothing but sleep, so I tried to keep my mind busy at work for as long as I could until I just couldn't deal anymore. Sorry about your grandma, but inevitably, yeah, Christian will use this to his own devices. That evening, I told Christian everything, that my grandma died the day that I was leaving to see her, my mom's side of the story, and what needed to happen next. I told him how upset I was, how I should have known better. All he had to say was, "Well, you're generally pretty upset, so this isn't a big deal." What the fuck? It's like the worst response you could have had ever. I am glad this pathetic, underwhelming excuse of a man was not in my line of sight. I would have gone to prison for murder. So instead, I ripped this worm a brand new aching beehole with my words. I tore him the fuck apart. Things I have never said to a person before and never will again. And his response was, "You're right. I apologize." He's not sorry for anything. That was it for me. I never contacted him again. He did message me a few times on several platforms, but I always leave him on red. He asked me if I was dating, asked about my mental health, tried to pry into my life, but I did not budge. I was done. So, that's it. Christian Grey was phased out of my life. I had a hard time communicating with people after that. I was on the defensive. I couldn't tell if someone was lying to me or telling the truth or something in between. Everything someone said was an attack, and I just kind of kept to myself for months after that. I got back into the dating field pretty quick, though, and just talking to some somewhat normal guys was pretty helpful. I met up with a handful, and unfortunately one ended in physical maltreatment, and that was a major setback. But a bit after that, 7 months after kicking Christian to the curb, I did meet a great guy, and we started dating. We're happy together, making plans to move in with each other, and just every day with him is awesome. It's unreal. Plans to move in together after 2 months? No, how long's it been for real, though? Don't do it too quick, that's crazy. Me and my wife waited 6 months, and that was pretty crazy. We still had a lot to learn about each other. But 9-10 years in, hey, look at us go. Never say never, right? A lot of incels will tell you that women want, 6 figures a year and all this other stuff. And really all most women is looking for is a dude that's like not an abject piece of shit. It's a pretty easy bar to get over, if I'm honest. If I could do it, you could do it. Christian's not going to be able to do it because he lives with mommy. He's enabling all of this. Anyway, OP says there's some bits of info I'd like to add. It was too much to put into the actual story, so here's a list of things that I could not add. Oh, he's still going, okay. Christian lied to me about his age. He was actually about 3-ish years older than what he told me, so 38, almost 40. I just turned 25. I could have figured that out with a simple Google search, but what with he put me through, his age was the least of my concerns, although still, yeah, that's pretty gross. I made contact with Christian's ex-wife. She is honestly the sweetest woman. She said he was cruel to her and her daughter, but not to the extent that he was with me. He constantly threatened to end himself when she called him out, so she was trapped in her 20s with a child and Christian hanging those things over her head. Yeah, she couldn't take it anymore and eventually left. You can only play that fucking card so many times, Speaking of that, Christian told me that his wife cheated on him. Untrue. I don't want to give too much away without the ex-wife's permission, but Christian had a penchant for attempting to cheat himself. The key word there is attempting. Yeah, but he's got a teeny weeny and it don't even work too good. Why are you embarrassing yourself like that? He tried to force me to wear those stupid, lacy collars. My weeb friends, you know what I mean. But he wanted to own me and actually spent a pretty penny on some collars. I did not wear them because it was cringe and stupid. Yeah, you can't make a real girl into a puppy girl. You gotta find a puppy girl that's already a puppy girl. He didn't like it when I didn't wear makeup. He would beg me not to take it off or to put it on every day. He had a proclivity for it, and yet he hated false eyelashes. What he didn't realize was that I actually wore false eyelashes every day. This dumbass doesn't even know what he wants. He wants to feel like a big man. He wants to feel like not quite the loser he is, but he won't make any steps to do that. You, woman person, it's your job to make me feel better about the fact that I've done nothing with my life. Christian claimed that he could play with a woman's under parts all day. I didn't let him go near mine, but from what I heard from him and what he attempted to try, he had no idea what he was doing down there. He would also freak out when I didn't shave. There was a 3-day period when I didn't because I was ill, and he said he'd pay for me to go get a wax. I told him if I wasn't going to shave in my own shower, then I wasn't going to pay for someone else to do it when I was under the weather. He pouted for a few hours after that one. Yeah, that's the worst thing ever. You're sick and we're gonna... Oh, he really doesn't see me as a human being. Just Barbie doll I can customize.
A couple of teeth and some toenail clippings and we'll be ready for our date.
He threw tantrums when I was looking at a car to buy. I was in need of a new one and he just flew off the handles, slamming my doors, throwing my stuff around. I asked him what his deal was, and he said, "Car buyers are stupid! They don't know what they're doing!" Yelling at the top of his lungs and pacing the room. I put 2 and 2 together and realized it was the fact that he hated me being independent. Struggling as I was, I didn't consult his help. I know cars some. I know about pricing, and if I needed, then my family would help me financially, no questions asked, and of course, he hated that. Is he a moderator in r/fuckcars? Is that what this is? I didn't find out until a bit in, but he kept tabs on his proclivity list. He legit had a list on his phone and asked me if I was interested in any of them. I could see him making check marks to some or leaving some blank. Yeah, I was fucking horrified. He told me I meant nothing to my employer. Well, that part may be actually true. I worked hard where I was, and management made it clear that they appreciated me. I was worried about something, and I asked him about it, and he proceeded to tell me that I was just a fly at the bottom of the totem pole. I was replaceable. They'll forget me, that I don't even matter. Well, I loved my job, and I busted my ass for it, so that really hurt, and I'll admit that I cried on the way home. I confronted him about it, but was met with another, "I didn't mean it that way," charade. Again, I think that's just another attempt to undermine your independence. Although I do want to be clear on this and say never put the job above yourself, because you will be replaced if you drop dead. You know what I mean? Self and family comes first all the time. The bills will get paid one way or the other. Anyway, he asked a nurse at a hospital out when she was on the job. It must have been more than that because she reported him to the hospital staff, and he was no longer allowed to go near her. Jesus. It wasn't a full-on restraining order, but he was barred from going near her or having any contact with her at the facility. Who the fuck asks a nurse out at work? 1, they're busy helping people, not getting patients' phone numbers. 2, I imagine that would be some form of HIPAA violation, especially if he's a patient at the hospital. This woman is not going to risk her career over some wispy ginger incel. We were watching a show about a woman who suffered an acid attack and was left paralyzed by getting beat by a stalker. She said during the attack, all she could think of was her daughter. Christian took it upon himself to say that she was lying and that the attack must have not been that bad. When you're really suffering, you can't think of anything, and only I have suffered real pain, unlike her. All right, we'll test that theory out. I'm gonna throw some acid in your face right now. And I was able to put it all together, says LP, and I found out that he is still active on Reddit. It all makes sense now. The way he treated me, the way he wanted me to dress, wanting to take me to super expensive dinners, which I denied. He also had a thing for maltreating ladies of the night and strippers. He's never been in the presence of either, but I've read his roleplay stories and they are all geared toward maltreating women in that line of work. Intimate, physical, mental maltreatment, as well as, wait for it, underage father-daughter things. Oh, God. Oh, God! I hate it!
You're horrible! You're an fire!
Yeah, please burn it. Burn it with fire right now. Like, you really saved the bombshell for like the last paragraph of this fucking story. Let me tell you that. I thought about not reading all this, but I'm not glad that I did either. But you know, that is the bombshell. OP says, fucking foul beast this guy is. Super foul. How do you get that foul? Whew. Thank you to everyone for tuning into the shit show that was my life for 6 months. I appreciate all of you. Stay clear of the neckbeards and incels. For me, please. Added in some details. Also, some of you wanted a more in-depth physical description, so here it is. Short little man, like 5'6" or so, sickly thin, like legs the size of my arms. I'm not trying to body shame, but damn, he was so skinny. I thought he'd break at any given moment. He said being that thin was normal for him, so I guess it wasn't from the medical procedures. He doesn't dress bad, but not good either. Complete lack of skincare, some pimples, and he made it clear to me that guys who care for their skin or use beard creams are totally gay. Duh. So yeah, his skin was no good. Dry, cracked, just ugh. Thin red hair, facial hair, cold, dead blue eyes. Seriously, if anything scared me on this man, it was the way he looked at people. Like everyone was just the scum of the earth. He had the gaze of a zombie. I mean, scum of the earth implies some hatred. Zombies don't have hatred. They don't feel shit. I guess maybe they look at people like they're meat. So perhaps it does fit. So yeah, this man was just underwhelming in every sense of the word, but somehow wanted women to fall at his feet. Good luck with that shit. Edit, I firmly believe this man suffers from delusions of grandeur. He told me that in 4th grade he was proven to be past 12th grade knowledge. For any non-American readers, that's roughly 9 years old. He claimed at 14 he was gun running, transporting guns illegally to people, as well as using and transporting illicit drugs. He dropped out of high school since it was super boring. I asked him if that was the case, and if he was that intelligent, why didn't he attend another school for the intelligent? And his excuse was that he wanted to do other things. I don't know about y'all, but I ain't buying that. Facts, OP. I wanted to do other things, like running guns and drugs at 14 years old. Sure, buddy. The truth is, this probably was a super hard lesson for OP to learn, but, you know, I guess it's one of those things, you gotta find what you don't want to find what you do want. It's just, yeah, really sad that this was one of the stops along the way toward that. How'd you end up feeling about it, Gubbins?
Gubbins see many beasts, but this one filthiest of all, tiny in body, massive in delusion. Burn, stink from memory, move strong, live free. Gubbins.
Burn, stink from memory, move strong. Yeah, I think the best we can do is move on from it. OP seems like she's in recovery and doing what she needs to do to get through this, and I'm glad that you felt brave enough to share the story with all of us here today. Listen to the podcast services if you'd like some more, maybe at work. This was a bit of a quieter one, a different vibe, but if you liked it, let me know. You can also sign up on the Patreon or the YouTube memberships. Those are super important to the channel. Maybe even share the video around. Let them know that old ReddX is back. People liked laid-back ReddX once upon a time. I think they can again. Anyways, always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it, and I shall see you in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.
何バカ何バカ何バカ何バカ